his car to go hunting, which left him happy to be alive.
Here's Maldonado coming out of the pits and straight into Esteban Gutierrez, and you're right.
Fine, with the worst possible result.
Austria, August 1987. Friday morning practice at the Österreichring, one of the fastest tracks on the calendar. Swede Stefan Johansson accelerates his McLaren on a fast lap. According to him, it's about 270 kilometers per hour. The climb before the Jochenrind corner is driven blind. The crest obscures everything beyond it. Johansson doesn't yet know what awaits him beyond that crest, and it's not a rival. Not an oil slick, not a technical failure. A deer. He'd been out on the track a few minutes earlier, and somehow no one had stopped the session. Johansson didn't have even a split second. The signal from his brain to his leg, as he would later say, simply didn't have time to reach him. The car's front left suspension was ripped right out of the monocoque. The entire left side was sheared off, and without steering or brakes, the McLaren slid across the wet grass and into the barriers. The result for the driver was a broken rib, and his own assessment: 25 centimeters to the right, the impact would have struck his head. But the ending of this story isn't a hospital ward. On Sunday, with a broken rib, Johansson takes the start line and finishes 7th in the points. Mechanics pull him out of the cockpit. He's no longer able to climb out on his own. Bahrain, April 6th, 2014. 16 laps to go. Mexican Esteban Gutierrez, in a Sauber, is keeping up his pace and heading into the first corner. He doesn't see one thing. On the right, from the pit lane, a Lotus is rolling out on cold tires. At the wheel is Pastor Maldonado, a man whose surname has long been a diagnosis in the paddock. Watch the pit lane exit.
Here's Maldonado coming out of the pits and straight into Esteban Gutierrez, and you're right. Almighty shunt from the side there.
The Lotus's front wheel hits the Sauber's rear right tire, sending Gutierrez's car into a complete overturn. Esteban gets out on his own. The hospital will confirm he's fine. No fracture, no serious bruise. But the most bizarre thing about this episode isn't the somersault. It's how Maldonado explained it. According to him, Gutierrez veered off his line, and I had nowhere to go. The marshals thought otherwise and handed out 3 penalties for one maneuver: a 10-second stop and go right in the race, a 5-place grid penalty for the next Grand Prix, and 3 penalty points on his license. Maldonado himself calmly finished 14th. His car was almost undamaged. Reputation is final. Hockenheim, July 2001, German Grand Prix. There's Michael Schumacher's red Ferrari, the championship leader, heading for his 4th title, 4th place on the grid. What no one knows yet at this start, his Ferrari's gearbox is already dying. The first glitches appeared on the formation lap. A few seconds later, Schumacher's car will be stuck in first gear and will become a nearly standing obstacle in the middle of the track, toward which the entire field is hurtling at full speed. 26-year-old Brazilian Luciano Burti starts 16th in a Prost. His view is blocked by Olivier Panis's car. Burti will see the red Ferrari at the last moment. Too late. The Prost flies over the Ferrari, tumbles over Enrique Bernoldi's arrows, and comes to a stop in the gravel of the first turn. Red flag. And incredibly, all 3 are unharmed. All 3 switch to spare cars and line up for the restart. Burti will retire on lap 23, but he leaves the track unharmed. Hockenheim wasn't the end of this story. It was a warning. 6 weeks later in Belgium, Burti would suffer a far more serious accident at the high-speed Blanchimont, a head injury. That race would prove his last in Formula One. Mandalika, Indonesia, September 2024. Second MotoGP practice. 2-time world champion Pecco Bagnaia pulls himself into the Q2 straight away at the very end of the session. Mission accomplished, he can breathe a sigh of relief. But watch out for his Ducati on the return lap. It's starting to slow down.
Marc Marquez, well, at the end of these sessions, we know the factories do run the lightest fuel loads possible.
It's empty. Yeah.
And it's pretty clear that it looks like Marc ran out of juice.
The tank is empty. The reigning world champion's factory Ducati is parked on the track without a drop of fuel. And the most unexpected person in the entire paddock offers him a taxi. Marc Marquez, the 8-time world champion currently racing for the customer Gresini, has already signed to the factory team. From 2025, he will occupy the pits next to Bagnaia and become his main threat in the fight for the title. In other words, Pecco is being driven home by the man who has come to collect his crown. Bagnaia himself diffused the situation with a single phrase: "A taxi from Marquez. We respect each other among riders." Montreal, June 12th, 2011. The Canadian Grand Prix will go down in history as the longest Formula One race ever, over 4 hours, including the rain stoppage. Lap 56. German Nick Heidfeld in a Renault is fighting for points and catching Kamui Kobayashi's Sauber at the exit of Turn 2. Watch out for the Renault's front wing.
Offline, as we've seen from Felipe Massa.
He's going to touch him.
Tonkat, he's broken his front wing. This is...
But the main consequence of this episode was not his. For the 6th time that day, the safety car deployed onto the track, a record erasing the leader, Sebastian Vettel's 10-second lead. And at the back of the field sat Jenson Button, after 6 pit stops and a drop to last place. A restart with 10 laps to go, Vettel made a mistake on the final lap, and Button completed one of the greatest comebacks in F1 history.